Thank you for joining Effortless Attraction. My name is Evelyn McAleer. I'm the author of A Life You Want, Effortless, and The Woman's Journey. I'm a life coach, business mentor, and inspirational speaker. And my greatest value is making a difference in people's lives. So I hope through these podcasts, I can make a difference to your life. A little bit more information before we pop on over to the podcast. So we're currently residing in the stunning province of Almeria in the south of Spain. As an extension of my mentoring and life coaching services, I'm now offering 4-night retreats tailored for women who are ready to prioritise themselves. So if you're a woman and you're interested in spending quality time with myself and 2 other participants, please visit my website for more details. Additionally, for business leaders and coaches who wish to have their own retreat here in Spain with their clients, I handle all of your logistics, including airport transfers, accommodation and meals for your group. If you'd like to request a retreat proposal, kindly send me an email. You'll get all of my contact information in the description below. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on another Effortless Attraction podcast. Well, today I am joined by Alison Matthews, founder of Virtue Alley Solutions. She's from Strangford in the County Down. And what has drew me to this lady, I didn't know nothing about her, but there's something about her. And that's what I'm here to find out today. But what I do know about Alison is that she specializes in helping solopreneurs, entrepreneurs in automate process and running courses and events online and in person. She's also lived in Luxembourg for 10 years. I think she's fluent in the French and German, as far as I'm aware. And she's been a member of the Lagan Valley Toastmasters group for quite some time. So this will be a walk in the park to her with our effortless conversation. Alison Matthews, you're very welcome today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me on.
Oh, you're most welcome. Now, I want to begin at the beginning. What I have read and noticed about yourself or seen about yourself, Alison, is that you are a huge advocate for connecting businesses, for connecting people, for being in groups and organizations. What is it that you think, is it a need or it's something that is a passion that you love to connect people?
Well, I think, funnily, I was thinking about this the other day because I had my business birthday on Monday. So I have nine years in business on Monday. And I was thinking about the very first event that I ever went to and why I felt it was important to connect with people. And I think it goes back actually to, I grew up on a farm and we were outside Moira in County Armagh. And I think as a farmer, you have to connect. You are so reliant on your neighbours and making connections with people that if you need a cow, we live beside the river. So we had a cow, for example, that fell into a ditch at one stage. And my dad had to call on a couple of people to come with the digger and, a couple of people to actually help him get it out. And I think from a very young age, I always had that in me that you need the connections to survive. And so when I started my business, and because I had been employed before, I very much thought I need to go out and talk to everybody because nobody knows me. I lived out in Northern Ireland by that stage of 10 years. Nobody knew what a virtual assistant was. So there was a big barrier in trying to explain that to people. And I thought I just need to go out and make connections. And as part of that, as you say, I just love connecting people. I really do. And you see connections and I see threads every time I'm talking to someone. Oh, you could help that person and you can help that person. So there's always a weave, a sort of a web there.
Yeah. You actually reminded me of a gentleman. I'm not sure if you know of him. His name is Declan Coyle. He has written the book, The Green Platform. But Declan, what you just said there about living on a farm and, the connection with the neighbours, that's what drew him to be. He became a Colombian missioner for 25 years. He said he lived on a farm in Cavan and everybody pulled everybody out. And he read in some missionary thing that this missioner needed help out in the Philippines. So that's what drew him. He says, coming from a farming background, you see the importance of connection and helping one another out. Now, you touched on something there, a virtual assistant. Well, I will be honest, hands up. I actually thought a virtual assistant was like this not real person,
Yes.
you know, an automated type thing.
Yeah. And I think it's funny because I'm not quite sure when Siri and all those kind of, the voice activated sort of services on our phones appeared. But when I became a virtual assistant, there was only three of us that I knew of in Northern Ireland who'd started about the same time. And I think it's not a great label, but it's hard to explain what we do otherwise. So it is like being a personal assistant, but you do it remotely for people. And that for a lot of people was very hard to understand until COVID hit. And then all the PAs who were in the offices were suddenly at home and their boss was sharing things over email and doing Skypes and Zoom. And then, the whole world went, okay, this is,
So it went from a PA to a VA. Is that the way it went? Personal assistant, that's when you're in person, and VA, you're doing the same work, but in
remote,
another house, but remotely. Not
remotely. Yes, remotely, yes.
great. So you are the founder of your own business, 2015, Ali or Alison, sorry, because I was just reading it in your name there. Virtue Ali Solutions.
Yes.
You went from you were employed, you actually were in a senior PA position in Luxembourg for 10 years, and you took the big jump and came back to Strangford in County Down, and then the big courageous step of going, right, I think I'll be self-employed now. Talk us through that.
Yeah. No, it was a bit crazy. So I did French and German at university and had a postgrad in business administration. So in Northern Ireland, I worked everywhere I could in exports, mostly in export, where you had to use your languages, and I worked in the tourist office as well. And then I went through the whole process that you go through, the EPSO process, if it still exists, to get a job in one of the European establishments like the Commission or the Parliament. Went through all of that process, had an interview for Brussels, and then saw the job advertised in Luxembourg, and thought, well, this is, and I'd been in Luxembourg, very strange. I'd actually been in placement for part of my German degree in Luxembourg, no, in Germany, but I flew in and out of Luxembourg, so I knew it was so pretty, and went there and worked on a building project. So they were building a new headquarters, and they wanted someone who was a native English speaker to be the project administrator for that, on the client side. But the architect was German, and the construction company was French. And they
Well,
did
no
everything.
bother to you.
Yeah, but they did everything in English. That's what they
Ah,
start, but they needed someone who understood both. Um, and so yeah, I was there for 10 years, but it was just a weird. Luxembourg is absolutely beautiful place, but you have nationalities from around the world. Like, it's a fascinating place to work. But we always said it was a bit of a bubble. Like, it was super safe. It was sort of champagne every night if you wanted, but it was that kind of
yeah.
culture. And we felt that our work, because there was like we had nearly 1,000 employees between different buildings. We were the bubble. We used to say we were the bubble in the bubble. And there was just a day that I went to the theatre actually one night with a friend of mine, and somebody in work was complaining about something. And I said, you know what? This isn't for me anymore. And I resigned like the next day. And that was a big shock because it was a place that nobody ever left. Like, the turnover was tiny. And I happened to see, actually, before that happened, there was a lady in Essex who'd advertised a course from PA to VA and how to actually go self-employed and set up yourself and do all that. And I had gone to that in London for a few days before I resigned. And then I thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Nobody's doing it in Northern Ireland that I knew of. And I thought, well, I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go. And that's how it all started.
You see, now the nuts cracked open. I could cry. I'm crying with yes, that's the story. That's the part of the story that I love. Here's a woman that has the dream job. Nobody leaves it,
Yeah.
but you're like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave the safety of this, the safety of a salary,
Mm.
and be the first. Nobody
Yeah.
else has done this other thing that I'm thinking about. I'm going to do it. How much fear was with that, Alison?
But it's funny because I don't remember there being a lot of fear, really. And I think part of that was because I'd studied languages and because I'd gone to live, when I was, I don't know, when I was 21, I went to live in France for a year and was like an English language assistant in a school. And I can't remember what age I was when I went to Luxembourg, but I wasn't that old. And so I totally uprooted my life, went to Luxembourg, no, like absolutely nobody in Luxembourg or anywhere around about. And so I think when you've done that, nothing else ever is as fearful as that because that's a very vulnerable kind of position to put yourself in and in a
Mm,
different language.
of
So
course, of course.
to come home and start a business, I thought, well, I can speak the language, I know people, and I'll find out where to ask for help.
Well, that's great. So now you've stepped in and you've started the route of self-employment. And once you've been self-employed, listen, if it's for you, you'll never ever be employed again. There's a freedom, and there's uncertainty, but I think the freedom outweighs most things whenever it comes to self-employed. Now, on the way, your business was formed in 2015, and just let people know, Alison, what it is that your business does.
Yes, so I'm a business support specialist, and what I have niched down over the years to help solopreneurs and entrepreneurs with is online events, and face-to-face events and online course creation. So I help take all the admin pain out of those things because I consider that as a project, and I come from a sort of project admin background, and that can be really overwhelming for people because there's so many moving parts, and I know you've got the tech set up that scares people as well. So I help people break down that big picture into manageable tasks and make it happen.
So, say for the likes of myself, life coaches, or anybody that wants to create a program online,
Mm.
and they work with you,
Yes,
and you help them set that up, and then
yes.
that goes virtual. And if people want to pay to do the course, then it's there, it's permanently there. And what about events? What way does that work then, Alison, when you're saying online or in person?
Yeah, so I've been on the tender for quite a few years now, through a company called Babel, and we've had the tender for Lisburn Market, for example, to create all the farmers markets and artisan markets in the council area, and so that means like contacting the traders, getting all their documents, invoicing them, setting up the whole market sort of structure. And we do that for the artisan markets and the Christmas market. And so that's the big sort of in-person thing. And then in behind the scenes for the online, it's everything from setting up the Zooms to being tech support to creating the Eventbrite descriptions and the images and creating, sort of populating Facebook event descriptions, LinkedIn, all of that, all of the
It's
behind
really, yeah.
stuff.
So it's taken all that big chunk of administration work that people really, either businesses or people that are self-employed, solopreneurs, and it's a thing I love. I love apps. I do love doing designing up things, doing marketing. I do love videos. It's my thing, but for others, it's not. And
Yeah,
they talk about that. I don't have time. I don't have time. And if you don't have time to put things in to use online or use social media, your business does take a bit of a hit, Alison.
yeah. I think now for the event side of stuff as well, like obviously pre-pandemic, there was a lot of in-person events that, with the way the lockdown was, disappeared. People went online. Then you had hybrid. It's going, I think there is a bit of both now again, that people want to see both. But I think for you to promote your business and to be known to the outside world, like you have to have an event. That's just the way I see it going now, that especially in the coaching world, like you have to be out speaking, you have to show people where your authority is for people to actually buy any kind of programs from you.
Yeah. And does that work? Do you feel more better in person or online for a more worldly view or?
I don't know, because I have attended myself both types of events, and like I think from the online you can get as much, but of course you've always that little added thing when you're in a room with people and you're talking to them and you get more of a sense of their body language maybe online, which you sort of miss a bit, or in person, sorry, that you kind of miss online. So it's a bit of both, a bit of both.
Well, that's excellent to know all that, because listen, I know that a lot of people, and including myself too, um, but again, if you have a business, and it's funny because I'm going to talk about this next, it's that fear of speaking, that fear of telling people what it is that I do. And sometimes, if we're using social media, we do hide behind text and static posts. I always love people buy from people, people
Mm.
connect to people on the road to business, self-employed, and you were self-employed at that stage. You joined the Lagan Valley Toastmasters because you had a fear, really, of speaking. But you knew this is something I need to do.
Yeah. Oh, totally. It totally was. And it was funny because I'd actually looked at joining Toastmasters in Luxembourg because there was an Irish guy at work and he had started a group within work. And I didn't go. And then and when I came back and started my own business as well, I was an admin back end. Now, I was a PA, so I was sort of, front of house facing, but I didn't have to speak about what the company I worked in, I didn't have to speak in public about anything
Mm,
really. And when I started my job, I thought, oh my goodness, I need to be out speaking. I need to be doing videos. I need to just have this online presence. And the speaking part terrified me. And I happened to see, yeah, I just must have researched local Toastmasters group, and Lisburn was the nearest to me, so I joined that, and it was just fabulous. And then in the end, I became the president for one of the years, and I was the first female president ever of Lagan Valley Toastmasters. And I'm very glad to say there's been a few since.
excellent, excellent. Well, there you go. That leads me on then. First female president for Toastmasters. We were just speaking before we started recording. And sometimes there is a difference in the approach when males and females and they start the business. Men might have more drive and confidence and turn true. Women have the creative ideas for, and it's not just to say that everybody's like this, but this is sometimes what I see: creativity. They may be more organized, but maybe are lacking a wee bit in confidence or speaking out. If you were the first female, as you say, in that environment, stepping through, you, where I met you or saw you, you had organized a mums at work. It's a networking in Northern Ireland, or where does it stretch to,
Well,
Alison?
it's quite interesting because Sinead Norton started in Northern Ireland, but we do have members now in the Republic of Ireland, Scotland, and England, and we've had members also who've left Northern Ireland and gone to live in Australia and lots of other places. So those people, if the time is right,
Yes.
enjoying the online meetings as well. So we're a bit international now.
Yeah. So that's where you were hosting that event, and I joined in from Spain, made it international. And and you've so a lot of the women that are on there are they're self-employed. They're talking about their business and so forth. Can you see then that the likes of those events where I was unaware when I joined in, these right, everyone has 1 minute to speak out their business about their business. I was like, whoa, I didn't know this was coming up, but thankfully I had spoken about it in the past. Question is, do you feel that that assists women in being more confident? This is who I am. This is what I do. And I'm not afraid to show up and speak about it.
Yes, totally, totally. And I think the fact, we do the 60-second pitch and we also have a guest speaker slot every week. And the 60-second pitch, like I was always told, no matter where you go, if you're in the supermarket, if you're talking to the postman, whatever, you should always be telling them what you're doing. And if you can do it in 60 seconds, all the better because they'll remember it. And so I think that when the ladies come along to that and they're practicing and they're hearing what others are saying as well, like it's invaluable. And the fact that, we have so many different industries and everybody's learning from each other as well. And for the speaking slots, like I have met some of the speaker the week before you were on, I had met her at an in-person event and she said to me, I really need to get out speaking more. And I said, well, I have got the slot for you. And I booked her in. And that way people can't really say no, and then it's great practice for them for they can say,
Yeah.
I've done this. Oh, what will I do next?
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
building your confidence all the time, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a group of ladies. We do 3 mornings a week. And strangely enough, we're on Zoom and there's interaction. Funny, I see if there's other events take place and those ladies are there, you can see they're a wee bit more confident. They're not
Yeah.
afraid to ask a question. They don't feel embarrassed about asking questions. So a huge, as you would say, attribute to if you're in business, regardless if nobody sees you, but you are going to be talking to people to say what it is that you do.
Yeah. And that's the way, totally, that people make connections, and you might not buy from the person directly, but you might have a niece or an auntie or your husband who will buy from them, or you collaborate in somewhere like we're doing today. Like, you just never know with networking, Trudeau, where it's going to lead.
Sometimes I would have thought, I wouldn't have been a huge network. And I thought to myself, hold on, no, I do. Because I do these podcasts. I love meeting people. I love getting this time. And even when recording ends, to get to know a person. I think maybe I'm a one-to-one person rather than a whole lot at the one time, that I can to get to the crux of it. What do you feel or believe, Alison? Now you've worked in many different environments. You're working, you have your own company there. You work in networks. Are some of the top, say, five for mindset or abilities if people are in business for themselves or thinking of setting up a business?
To be successful.
Yes. I didn't finish the end of that question. Sorry there. Mind read, number one.
Mind read, yeah.
Complete your sentence, number two.
I think so many things, isn't there? I think you have to be adaptable, would definitely be the first thing. Like with lockdown or any other things that come our way, that you can adapt and that you're flexible enough to do that. And the second thing is to recognize maybe your weaknesses and to look, or vulnerabilities, and look for help. There is so much help out there, but you have to put your hand up and say, I don't know how to do such a thing. Please help me. And to be, I suppose, a lot of people talk about practicing gratitude, but it is to be grateful for all the people and all the opportunities. Yeah, but to recognize what you should be grateful for, because then you can't complain. You can't be grateful and complain at the same time, I don't think. And what else? Oh goodness.
Would you see yourself as a driven person? I think drive, there has to be something that gets you up of a morning, and even those mornings where you could easily not get up, when it's your business, there has to be that thing more that gets you out of bed.
Yeah. And yeah, definitely. And funny, one of our neighbors, she was my partner called over with her on Monday afternoon, and she was drinking lots of champagne, and I thought, when you're self-employed, you're always sort of conscious of, you can't go into work and be under par, because it is your work, it's you, it's everything, and so you're always sort of, you have to be top of your game. And I think mental well-being and looking after your own health and realizing how to step back is an enormous thing about how to succeed, because if you don't have if you don't know how to pause in any way, it's going to be disastrous for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It can, in what we feel in achieving or getting to this end goal, we could be tuning into time with our children, our partners, our husbands, our wives, and it's being mindful of all of that. But it is extremely rewarding. A lot of people do give up. And I understand. When you have mortgages and things, when you've all that there. But if you are, I think if you have that drive, if you have something that is of service and that you're passionate, that you actually love, I think you have to really love what it is that you do. Be creative. If you don't know things, you say, Alison, the likes of herself, is there to do admin, to help with courses, or to direct, join mums at works, join networks and find, maybe that person could help me. Maybe I could collaborate with that person in order and ask questions for that to grow. Now, Alison is very passionate. You think I was auctioning you off here? You get a cuddly toy with her.
Get a dog or two.
Yes, she's into wild swimming and loves community projects, as we discussed there, and connecting people. Wild swimming and mountain climbing. A country girl through and through. Well, the wild swimming, fair play. For I be out there dipping my hand in the swim pool going, oh, it's getting nice and warm now.
Well, it was funny because Luxembourg was landlocked. And so every holiday that I had, I was always drawn to the water. I just love the water. We grew up beside the river. And when I came back to Northern Ireland, I by chance met a guy who actually was one of the first people who had been trained by Wim Hof before anybody had heard of Wim Hof, really, and his own TV series. And he used to go while swimming in Bangor, or swimming in the sea in Bangor, but he did all the breathing techniques as well. And then later on, there was a guy who I was part of a swimming club, and he actually swam, which is obviously an extremely hard thing to do, from Donegal, Northern Ireland, to Scotland, to Port Patrick, across the Irish Sea. And it was really weird because he loved swimming. He went to swim pool all the time, but when he went to train for that, and when he stopped training, he realized he really missed the cold water. He really missed it, and he started a club. And there was like 8 of us on the first day who were mad enough one October to go into Loch Lurgan and go swimming, and then I was hooked. That was it. That was it. But I have no desire to do anything as scary as that. I just like to go and swim.
But that in itself, Alison, you know how many people would look at the water and go, oh, not
Yeah.
for me today.
Yeah.
But those are things then that you're doing for yourself. Nature, you're out in the mountains, you know, you're surrounded by nature. You have that lovely energy around you. And so that all makes part and parcel of who Alison is and what, you know, helps to contribute to you so you can contribute to community, to society, to connect to people. And all them wee things that we take for granted. Oh, I haven't time for that. I haven't time for that, because you get stuck in and drowned by work. It soon dulls you, and it doesn't serve you any good at all. But those are vital points whenever I said about mindset or personalities. People get
Yes.
out, get exercise, and get the fresh air. And I'm sure Alison is a great way, as I say, to clear the cobwebs when you're in the cold water.
Totally. And like today, because I'm in a WhatsApp group with the swimming ladies down the road from me, and like people will text, all the time who's free for a swim, and we try to go with a high tide, but we don't always. And someone texted today at lunchtime, can you come? And so a few of us went, and it wasn't warm in the water, but it was sunny outside, and there was loads of us, and we thought, isn't this lovely? And then you come back and then you're buzzing, you're absolutely buzzing. Like, I think you get far more work done in the first hour after you've been for a swim, probably, than any other time you'll ever, you're just buzzing.
Well,
No.
fair play to you. Fair play. I just seen, honestly, I stepped in there the other day. I think we'll go for into the swim, and rather than coming out with a mouthful of colorful language, because the cold, it was fresh. Well, it was fresh cold water out of the tanker, and
Yes, we'll just
the
go
wet,
in.
the breath. I
Yeah.
can't breathe, that breathing. So I'm sure that's something that you have to manage, the breathing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we used to just sing wee songs to ourselves, and then we at the start, when we started Lurgan, we made up. We had our own Duncan song that was jingle bells with our own words or something, something silly.
Yes,
But when you're
yes.
singing, you're not conscious about your breathing. It calms you down. So then you're just in the water.
Well, then I done something right the other day. So instead of coming out with all this lovely stuff, I sang "The Hills Are Alive" with the sound of music.
See, you see, and you'll be singing it in Spanish by the end of the
Alison, tell us how people can get in contact with you if they're looking a virtual assistant.
Yes. So I'm on LinkedIn under my own name, Alison Matthews, and they can also find my website, which is www.virtually.uk. Virtually Admin Solutions is my full title, and I'm also on Instagram and Facebook.
And that's Virtue with A-L-I.
Yes,
Virtual Ally.
Virtually, because I was
Virtual
very
Ally.
stuck with the name of what I should call myself for a long time. And then I had a friend in Scotland who phoned me one day and said, I've got it. She said, you're virtual and you're Alison. Why don't you be Virtual Ally?
Virtual Ally. Excellent, excellent. And to say if you're at mums at work, and you don't have to be a mum
No,
either to be in this.
I am a doggy mum. I am not. I don't have any human children. And Sinead Norton at the start, when she founded it, she contacted me. And there's lots of people in the group who don't have children. But we have, as someone said, maternal instincts, so that's enough. That's
Yeah.
enough.
And you'll get it online. It's everywhere, and you hook up normally every Wednesday, and then you
Yes.
have then in-person events around Northern Ireland.
Yes. So there's every Wednesday we have the online businesses and support network meeting that I normally host. And then there's Coffee and Connect meetings all around Northern Ireland. And if you follow Mums at Work on Eventbrite, everything is listed there.
Well, Alison Matthews, thank you for being here in person. Are we virtually here? Is this a virtual podcast? Thanks. I've enjoyed it, Alison. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to another Effortless Attraction podcast.
Thank you.
If you would like to advertise your business by becoming a sponsor on an upcoming Effortless Attraction podcast, send an email to evelyn@evelynmcalew.com.